what is your thoughts on monogamy?
Oh my god.
Oh no, I had
Not
such a
this
problem with
shit.
this. Me and Vaush can fight about it.
Wait, okay.
Oh,
do you know
unless
what
you
my
don't,
take
unless
is?
you don't want
Monogamy
to.
is like selfish.
I don't.
No. Do you know what my take is?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
I argued that while people should be free to choose fairly whether they want to be monogamous or non-monogamous, we should recognize that the principle behind monogamy, which is the idea that there should be some kind of sexual exclusivity, but not exclusivity around all the other things people do with each other, like having friends or whatever else, that is an arbitrary line that we've produced as a product of insecurity. But the follow-up to that is that everyone experiences insecurity, whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous. It's just one of those things that changes and mitigates our behavior. Same as fear. Why do people behave more cautiously when they're near the side of a road or when they're driving at high speeds? Fear causes us to do it. But that doesn't mean that it's bad or wrong. We should recognize, though, that it is ultimately a rationale which is derivative of like base social instincts that we have. So with regards to monogamy, I do think it derives often from insecurity. Why do you want that exclusivity? You're insecure about your partner liking other people more, or you feel entitled to their body. But those are feelings we all have, and I think it's a legit choice that people should be free to enjoy if they think that's best for them. I just want people to be forthcoming about that info, because like, there are frat dudes or whatever who are like, yeah, I don't want my girl talking to any other guys, like talking to, and you'll be like, that sounds pretty insecure. And they'll be like, no, I just don't think that girls should be doing that when they're in relationships. And it's like, okay, you have to know that's a decision born in insecurity, right? Not as like more insecurity than the standard monogamy, but like fundamentally it comes from the same basic feelings. That frat dude is feeling the same thing that monogamous people feel when they think about their partners sleeping with other people.
I mean, the thing is with sex, right, is I found that I was in a committed relationship for like years, and then we broke up, right? And so after that, I do the thing which most people my age would do, and I start sleeping around, and it was like nice sexually, but afterwards it would not feel too good. It wasn't nice to have sex with somebody and then they just stand up and then they just leave your apartment and you don't talk about it afterwards. There's nothing there. It felt very empty on an emotional level. And then once I developed another relationship with my current partner, right? Then that feeling that I had with sexual intercourse before was back. And sex has certain chemical compounds that make you grow pretty attached to people, right? So it isn't just a product of
wait, hold on. I'm taking this seriously, so hold on, because these are non sequiturs. For the first one, playing skee ball with people is fun, but if a person just played skee ball with me and then after we were done they just left, I would think oh, that was a pretty hollow experience. What you're talking about there is the general desire to do intimate things with people that you have connections to. That's universal. You can have
exchanging fucking fluids and fucking is the same as skee ball.
So hold on, wait. Let's not resort to
balling maybe.
Let's not resort to arguments from intuition here, okay? So what you're talking about is things are made better when you have close feelings to the people that you're doing them with, which I will agree with generally, whether it comes to sex or other things. But I don't think that speaks to my point, which is that insecurity is the driving social regulator that influences our feelings on this. But this isn't like a moral
I've heard
statement.
Can I ask you a question, Vaush? Sorry, I want to ask you, Vaush. Okay, let's say, do you think that insecurity is justified or understandable or serves a purpose in some way?
100% yes, absolutely I do.
Okay, so then what's the problem with it?
I don't know. Again, biologically, the reason why we are more cautious in situations that where a misstep could lead to our death is fear. People who don't experience fear, like people who have parts of their brain that don't, like people who have that condition, and there have been studies on this, those people can behave recklessly in situations where we would be more cautious. So fear makes us cautious, and caution can be a good thing. Normally when we say, hey, you're being fearful, you're a coward, it's an insult. But in reality, fear is a healthy mechanism that regulates our behavior. The real insult is, right, you're being too fearful. That's the real insult. I don't think a person is being too insecure if they're monogamous, but I still think it's rooted in insecurity, which is something we should be aware of because it can make us more introspective.
Well, some people think that what is it, polyamory or whatever, or what is it,
Yeah, I think so.
What's the opposite of whatever? So some people think that is insecurity. I've heard before. It's like, why get attached to someone if they're just gonna leave? Like, why even bother?
I
Just
think
like don't
you know
even
what
try. Like that's a sort of
I think the
fear
thing
too. That
I think the thing is you can't
Agreed.
generalize, right? Like there's definitely people who are they don't have any insecurity. They're just they just know that they can get it when they want and they want to have fun and shit. Like they might be have status or whatever the case may be. And then there's other people who are insecure and whether they're monogamous or polygamous,
Mhm.
that either way that insecurity is the driving factor behind it. But personally, I think that like a lot of monogamy comes down to like appreciating the project that you've built together,
Yeah.
the respect for the memories or all of the groundwork that you put to build that is kind of like that to me is the driving factor,
Yeah,
not like the insecurity of
it's
like,
like
oh, I'm
having
gonna
a
be alone.
It's like having a best friend that you just hang out and you do everything together and you, like, grow together and, like, stuff like that, and you're, like, romantic together. That's another thing, like, the romance about it, and, like, the
Well,
romantic
keep
and chemistry, stuff like that, like
Well,
that.
keep in mind, you can build polyamory together, right? You can have a lifelong partner that is
Mhm.
non-monogamous. What you're talking about isn't having a lifelong partner. What you're talking about is limiting the sexual behavior of your partner and expecting them to limit it from you. So again, I think the desire to like have friendships or partnerships that grow throughout your whole life is universal. Well,
Mhm.
I guess not for aromantic people maybe, but is generally universal. What we're talking about, and by the way, I agree. I think that fear of commitment is also a type of insecurity or a fear that
True.
can
Yeah.
often be an informative factor in why people like me choose not to be monogamous. I can tell you
Mhm.
from personal experience that fear of commitment is
Mhm.
absolutely a decision or a factor that goes into decision making. The
So,
thing,
Mhm.
can I ask you a
oh,
question,
sorry.
Vaush? Like,
Yes.
so let's say that you're in a monogamous relationship with somebody, and somebody else walks up to them and they say something like "I love you" about another person, right? And it's clear that that is an indication of some romantic love. Obviously, that can hurt people for a variety of reasons. They feel that's like number one, this is a relation. This I feel that this
For
threatens.
some random person.
Yeah, no, anyone. It could be literally. It
Okay.
could be somebody, the close friend or something.
Okay.
There's a certain amount of reactions people are going to have to that indication of some romantic interest, right? So,
Wait, so I have a monogamous partner,
uh-huh.
and somebody goes up to them and tells my partner that they love my partner.
Well, yes, now this is different for everybody, but do you believe that this isn't like just like playing skee ball with friends? This has a very specific romantic implications, right? So this has very specific implications for romance and like feelings for one another. Do you think that if someone was to come up and say like, "Hey, that's something that I believe that only us should share, that type of love and stuff, not we don't like share that with other people." That's rooted in insecurity, even though I think a lot of this is just like basic like human emotions of the people being attached to one another in this way where they want to have that like singled off. How is
So
that
are
like
you just so
insecurity?
you're distinguishing between sexual monogamy and romantic monogamy,
I
correct?
I'm gonna make the connection. I'm
Because
gonna
those
make
are
the connection in
definitely
a
two
second.
very different things. I'm not polyamorous. I'm not sexually non-monogamous.
So I have a
But I'm,
question. So do
oh
you
wait, I
think
didn't.
Well, yeah,
oh
you never
sorry, go
answered
ahead.
my
My bad,
question.
sorry.
Well,
Go
my
ahead.
my
Well,
thing, my I was gonna flight it into like sex for different people means different things. For some people, I guess, even though I don't know for sure. There are people who for sex like it doesn't mean that much, right? But for other people, sex has a
I
lot
would say for
more.
most people, right?
Mhm.
For most people, sex doesn't mean that much. I actually
No,
don't.
sorry, opposite what you're about to say.
Yeah,
For most
for
people.
most people,
Yeah.
sex actually like can build you a bond with people. I haven't once I've been with people where it was just like a casual sex relationship, and through that I actually got more and more emotionally attached to them. And that's just like basic like chemicals and like chemical compounds like reacting in your body through doing this. And so it's not. I don't think it's like an act of insecurity for someone to be like, I feel that's something that should just be shared between two people who love each other because sex can unironically make you have those feelings for people, for a lot of people.
This is what I don't
Okay.
get about the
Oh,
the thingy though. Oh, sorry, let him answer.
Well, no, I would only make the argument that there are lots of things that not only does that vary significantly, but there are lots of things that can produce those feelings. For instance, sex workers don't go about falling in love with every person they fuck. If they did, then that job would be incredibly difficult, more so than it probably already is. And additionally, there are like spending time with people, like long periods of time with people. Going to a concert with a person could be an incredibly formative bonding experience. I'm not saying that sex isn't unique in its ability to make people feel close to one another. I'm only saying that ultimately the line we draw for what's acceptable is arbitrary. So for me, sex would be like a fairly intimate thing. But like the highest thing would be like other romantic partners, right? So I'm comfortable having a partner who only wants one romantic partner, and I only want one romantic partner myself. And to an extent, I do think that's born of insecurity because I think everyone feels this way a little bit about friends. Everyone wants a best friend to whom they are the best friend, right? Like you want
And
your best
stability.
friend. Right. You want your best friend to think of you as their best friend. You don't want to have a best friend who might be like, oh, well, you're like my third best friend, but I've got these two friends and they're my best friends or whatever. So stuff like this, I think, these are legitimate reasons to feel one way or the other. But ultimately, what I'm talking about is insecurity on my part. But I don't think it's bad or wrong. I just think that's kind of where the feelings come from, you know?
About like having like a family and like kids, where does that come in? How
You
do
can
you
do that
what is like
non-monogamous. You don't have to stop. Like there are plenty of
Do you think
swinger
it would be
parents.
confusing for the children?
You can just go do Tinder hookups like out of the house.
Oh, okay, I see.
I'm not talking about polyamory. I mean, just mean non-monogamy here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I got you.
yeah. Now,
Like
if we're
you're
talking about like
romantically only with one person,
triads,
but you sleep around. You both decide it's okay to sleep around.
yeah. But
Yeah.
again, like my frustration here wasn't like because I'm trying to morally
What happened,
impugn
anyways? Where did this come from? Can you tell me the origin? Like, what happened? You were
I was just
venting or
talking.
something?
Well, I was talking with chat while playing Diablo like a week ago or something, and people got mad at me. But the reason why the conversation
chat.
denigrated, like the reason why it got worse, at least
don't
in
listen
my
to him
opinion,
chat, I love you.
Fuck chat.
in my opinion, is because it frustrates me that like I think a lot of people are very unintrospective about where some of their feelings come from. So intuitive rejection of some abstract social principles can be traced to a lot of reactionary thinking. For example, the idea that people are best with their kind, races should be kept within a race. These are things people have very strong intuitive feelings on. You can go ask your average racist boomer or whatever. They're not going to have some eloquent answer for you on skull shapes. They'll just say that
It'll fall
you know,
apart quick.
well, they won't even debate it. It's just like, well, that's just how it is, you know.
Quick question: do you believe
So
monogamy is harmful though, like in any way?
the social expectation that monogamy be the default is harmful, but people in monogamous relationships aren't harmful. Like heterosexuality.
Okay, hang on.
Like,
Let me ask you a question.
heterosexuality is not harmful, but the expectation that you
But-
have to be heterosexual or you're weird, that's harmful.
But
Can I
let
ask
me
you a
just
question?
quick question.
Wait,
You
sorry, I have to ask it.
Okay, fine. I'll wait.
I have to. I'm sorry. Do you think? Sorry, Dylan.
Take a press conference.
Co-host of the show.
Sir, over here.
I'm from the Washington Post, Mr. Vaush, and I wanted to ask you, do you think that like part of this societal expectation comes from the fact that maybe the vast majority, I would say probably 90% plus of people link that romance and sex so closely that they're unable to like separate them, and so therefore this is just how the society has naturally, progressed to this level?
But isn't that the same for heterosexuality? Like,
Well, I would say that heterosexuality is probably the majority as well. No?
yeah, but we probably shouldn't normalize it to the extent that we shame people who aren't heterosexual, right?
For sure, yeah, and I don't think that we should shame polygamous people either.
Well, I got to tell you, as a non-monogamous person, we get a little bit of flack, I have to say.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
actually,
you could say you get more flack than like maybe the LGBTQ. I don't know, maybe
well, more
it's not
than
a-
monogamous people is what I'd say.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's comparable to biphobia in a way, right? So when non-monogamous people are looking around for relationships, not just people to fuck or whatever, but relationships, oftentimes they're this, things work out and then the conversation on non-monogamy pops up and there's this reflexive disgust, Now, if you are dating casually a person who's revealed to be non-monogamous and that's not your dig, that's totally fine, okay? But it goes beyond not having that preference and goes more towards the idea that there's something wrong or subversive or harmful about being non-monogamous, and that's what bothers me. Like, if you were dating around and the person was like, oh yeah, like I'm dating women right now, but I'm like 85% attracted to men or something. Like I can understand you being a little cautious about entering that relationship.
See, like, I think I could be with someone who's non-monogamous, but I myself can't be non-monogamous.
Well,
Does that make sense?
that was gonna be my next
I'd make
question.
you
Do you think it's irresponsible if you, let's say, sleep with someone who you know explicitly is into monogamous relationship
Chat calling me a cunt.
and
Shut the
you
fuck
know,
up.
you know what I mean?
I mean, as long as you tell them, right? The I'm into non-monogamy thing is like one of the first things that I message people about on Tinder. It's always very forthcoming because you never want to bait people, right? I mean, the last thing you want to do is, rope some poor monogamous damsel into
Well, that's
falling
what
in love with you.
so like, yeah, I agree.
Wait,
Yeah,
here's a question though. So, will you acknowledge though that like sex though is like unique in comparison to like going for a jog with somebody, doing something else, due to the fact that there is like distinct like dopamine centers that you're hitting at that makes you feel feelings for people. There's like
You
a difference
come.
between like well, it does though. Those things can make you attached to people. Like it's a lot more likely that I feel attached to somebody romantically by having sex with them than for me playing skee ball or like watching a movie. And those feelings can be like hurt in different ways. That is unique in comparison to like I ski bowled with somebody else. Oh, that's so harmful. Like there's a difference there.
Well, I mean, it depends because keep in mind there are people and entire cultures where they will get offended if you do things with other men if you're a girlfriend to a guy, even if it's not sex, right? For instance, like there have been entire centuries in cultures where it was considered scandalous for a woman to like hang out with a guy who wasn't her husband.
Cultures, yes, but I'm talking about like basic like what your body does in reactions to two types of different events. Like,
it's true
little
that
different than the distinctive cultures.
Right. Of course, sex does have distinct biochemical reactors associated with it, but our experiences are always informed culturally. When it comes to the biochemical stuff, like, I mean, I've read the science on it. I have to agree, of course. Sex is unique in its ability to make the love hormone produce or whatever. But I know that anecdotally, because culture has a big influence and so does context, that can really, really vary. Like, I know for a fact I've had sex with people who I did not have particularly fond, like, romantic feelings towards. And I know that I've developed really deep bonds over going to Disneyland with people. So I think there's enough variety here where we have to acknowledge that the line we've drawn is, especially with what a strict line it is, is a fairly arbitrary one. Not that there's anything wrong with being on that line, only that we should recognize, like, yeah, okay, well, there's probably some cultural bias influencing it.
In a few years, I'm gonna be the conservative and be like, yeah, I'm monogamous. I don't believe people should have
Right?
paid time off to take care of their pets. No, that's ridiculous.
Oh, you can be,
Slowly.
you can be monogamous.
No,
Look,
I'm gonna be the next John
understand.
Doyle.
Okay, I understand everything that you're saying. The one issue I had with what you said on your like thing, you said that no monogamy was like internalized Christianity.
okay, hold on. That was
Is that
okay,
just
wait.
like you were mad or like
Okay, well, that was 90% me being mad, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that's also a misquote, okay? I'm pretty sure what I said
No.
is that the idea that sex is sacred comes from internalized Christianity, which in the West, that's largely where it derives from. Obviously not like forever, but I think that's what I said was internalized Christianity, which, to be fair, Christianity is the largest cultural producer of the idea that there's something sacred about sex in
What do you
America,
think,
at
Shu?
least, right?
I think sex is like sacred.
Because of
It's
your
pretty-
indoctrination within the Jesus Christ?
No, it's because it's like cool.
You're Italian, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm Catholic.
There you go. Yo, you guys, listen, you guys want to hear a funny story? My fiance used to go to a Catholic school, and she said she used to skip going out for recess because it's cold. I live in Canada. She used to skip going out for recess. She'd go to the fucking chapel and do the rosary fucking Hail Marys all lunch period long. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the school you went to? It sounds like fucking torture. What is this? So yeah, maybe that's where you're getting your internalized feelings about sex.
Developing a
Right.
relationship with Christ is torture to you? Jesus Christ.